I believe in regulation. Regulation has made my fortune. I raised my fund the European way. I gave it freedom, but I taught it not to dishonor the family. Good evening. Tonight, on Reg Flicks, we tell you a story of shadows, of money that moved where no one was watching, of managers who answered to no don, no consigliere, no rule but their own appetite. And we tell you how Brussels, slowly, patiently, in the way only Brussels can, sat them down at a long table, poured them a glass, and made them an offer they could not refuse. This is the story of the Alternative Investment Fund Managers Directive, AIFM D1, born of crisis, raised on suspicion, crowned in 2011, 5 chapters, 15 minutes. Keep your friends close and your depositary closer. It was the year 2008. The summer was hot. The markets were richer than they had ever been. And in the back gardens of the financial system, a wedding was taking place. Hedge funds danced with private equity. Real estate funds clinked glasses with funds of funds. Everyone smiled. Everyone toasted. UCITS, the legitimate son, sat at the main table, well-dressed, well-behaved, supervised by his European parents since 1985. But behind the house, at a smaller table, sat the other children, the alternatives, unregulated, unsupervised, unaccountable to any European authority. Then came the day the music stopped. Lehman, AIG, Madoff. The wedding band collapsed. And when the lights came back on, the regulators counted what was missing from the silverware. The numbers were staggering. Hedge funds managed nearly $2 trillion with no European rulebook. Private equity moved through industries like a quiet uncle nobody could name. And Madoff, my friends, had made off with $65 billion under the noses of the entire industry. The G20 met in London in April 2009. The message was simple. No financial market, no product, and no participant should escape regulation. Brussels heard the message. Brussels remembered every name. And Brussels, in the patient way of the family, began to prepare its response. It's not personal, Sonny. It's strictly business. On the 8th of June 2011, in a quiet room in Brussels, the European Parliament and the Council signed a document, Directive 2011/61/EU, the Alternative Investment Fund Managers Directive. It was not addressed to the funds. No, that would have been too obvious. The Don does not threaten the businesses. He speaks to the men who run them. AIFMD targeted the managers, the AIFMs. Because if you control the manager, you control everything the manager touches. The offer was simple, and it was beautiful in its symmetry. You wish to manage alternative funds in Europe. You wish to market them across our 27 territories. Then you sit at our table. You follow our code. You answer when we call. The member states had until the 22nd of July 2013 to transpose the directive into national law. Some moved quickly. Some dragged their feet. But all of them, sat down at the table in the end. And here is the elegance of the thing. AIFMD did not ban a single strategy. It did not forbid leverage. It did not outlaw short selling or private equity or distressed debt. The Don does not kill businesses. The Don taxes them, supervises them, and demands tribute in the form of transparency. Every family has a code. AIFMD wrote one for the alternatives. 7 commandments. Let me walk you through them. 1. Authorization. No man becomes a made man on his own. Before you manage a single euro of alternative money above the thresholds, 100 million with leverage, 500 million without, you must be authorized by your national authority. You present yourself, you present your shareholders, you present your fit and proper persons, and the family decides if you are worthy. 2. Capital. A made man brings tribute. Initial capital of 125,000 euros for an external AIFM, 300,000 if you are internally managed, plus additional own funds, scaling with assets, skin in the game. You bleed a little, so we know you are loyal. 3. The depositary. The depositary. Every AIF must appoint one. A bank, a credit institution, and my FID firm. The depositary watches the cash. The depositary safeguards the assets. The depositary verifies ownership. The depositary is the consigliere of the fund, sitting beside the manager at every meeting, asking the quiet questions, and held strictly liable when the financial instruments in custody go missing. Strict liability, my friends. No excuses. No, the dog ate my custody records. 4. Risk and liquidity management, functionally separate from portfolio management because, as the Don knows, the man who counts the money cannot be the man who spends it. 5. Annex 4. Reporting. Every quarter, every 6 months, every year, depending on size. The AIFM tells the regulator everything: exposures, leverage, counterparties, liquidity profile, top 5 instruments, stress tests. Annex 4 became the longest confession in European finance. The books are open, the family sees all. 6. Remuneration. No more bonuses paid the morning after a disaster. At least 40% deferred over 3 to 5 years. At least 50% paid in instruments of the fund. Clawback, malice. No son shall outshine the father, and no trader shall out-earn the franchise. 7. And this is the gift. The marketing passport. Authorized EUAIFMs, marketing EUAIFS to professional investors received a single license, valid across all 27 member states. 1 authorization, 1 territory, from Lisbon to Helsinki. The family's reach, extended. This was the code, brutal in its detail, generous in its reward. And once you signed, you were in for life. 4. Risk and liquidity management, functionally separate from portfolio management because, as the Don knows, the man who counts the money cannot be the man who spends it. 5. Annex 4. Reporting. Every quarter, every 6 months, every year, depending on size. The AIFM tells the regulator everything: exposures, leverage, counterparties, liquidity profile, top 5 instruments, stress tests. Annex 4 became the longest confession in European finance. The books are open, the family sees all. 6. Remuneration. No more bonuses paid the morning after a disaster. At least 40% deferred over 3 to 5 years. At least 50% paid in instruments of the fund. Clawback, malice. No son shall outshine the father, and no trader shall out-earn the franchise. 7. And this is the gift. The marketing passport. Authorized EUAIFMs, marketing EUAIFS to professional investors received a single license, valid across all 27 member states. 1 authorization, 1 territory, from Lisbon to Helsinki. The family's reach, extended. This was the code, brutal in its detail, generous in its reward. And once you signed, you were in for life. So, what did AIFMD 1 leave us? It brought the alternatives out of the shadows and into the family. $2 trillion of hedge funds, $4 trillion of private equity, real estate, infrastructure, all of it now authorized, supervised, reported, deposited, remunerated under European law. The wedding guests of 2008 became the made men of 2013. It built a regulatory architecture that the rest of the world studied, and in some cases copied, the depositary regime. Annex 4, the remuneration code. These traveled. They became the European model. But AIFMD 1 was a first generation, and every family eventually needs new blood. The third country passport never came. The retail door stayed shut. The reporting was heavy, the cost was high, and the cracks in supervision never fully closed. In 2021, the Commission proposed a review. In 2024, the Council and Parliament agreed it. And so, my friends, the story does not end here. Someday, and that day may never come, I will call upon you to do a service for me. But until that day, accept this regulation as a gift on the day of your daughter's wedding. That day came, the dawn is called, and AIFMD 2 is already at the door. But that is a story for the next episode of Reg Flicks. Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.